All right, I'll welcome to your casual gaming station. I'm Harmonic, and today we're going to go over some trials in Arc Raiders. For you, those of you loving the game, I'm loving it too, man. I'm having a blast here. And really, this is just a video giving some constructive criticism or constructive feedback to the devs if they want to take a look at it. And really just, from the community. If you guys watch the video, put some comments down below. Let me know if you think I'm on the right track with my feedback, if you think I'm way off. Ultimately, I think we all just are having a blast with this game. We want to make it better. And I don't necessarily want to take away any of the joy that other people are having with this game. So I'm just going to base this off of my experience and give you my suggestions and see what happens. So let me just give you a quick rundown of my background in the game. So I am ranked 75. I have all my quests done. I'll show you. I have the project done as well. I'm ready to prestige. I have enough coins and all of that to prestige. I have 160 hours in the game. And I'm typically a PvE player, or when I play solo, I'm a friendly type player. I lean friendly. I have 72 down players. I do like the PvP aspect. I don't want to I like that in the game. When I play duos and trios, we always lean PvP, depending on what group I play with. So I don't want to take that out of the game. I very much enjoy that. And honestly, part of how many hours I have in the game is just grinding for prestige. And I find that's easier to do as a friendly player than an aggressive one. So there's that as well to think about. But anyways, let's get back to the trials. Just to run through what I'm going to go over in this video. I want to go over just some of the general info I would like to get from the ranks, from my scores, what I'd like to see in raid when I'm working on these. Then we're going to get into just kind of the explanation of some of the trials in general. I think some of them are a little confusing. The timing, there's been some complaints of like how often certain trials or trial quests are available, which I'm not going to dig into too much because it's already kind of been mentioned a lot. The trial rewards, to be honest with, I don't think they are good enough. And I'll explain why. The names of the trials, of the ranks, I think could be a lot more creative. And that's maybe getting a little nitpicky, but I think thematically we could do something interesting with the trial names. And that goes into some of the rewards as well. And then there's been some talk about personal rank, people not liking that they have to have this random leaderboard they go against, and they want just like a flat out number for each rank to beat. I don't think realistically that will work because the weekly trials rotate. So some trials are more prone to allow larger scores. And so having a score each week that you have to reach could be hard depending on what trials are available. And so I think you'd have to really make the trial quest specific to the week in the season if you really wanted to force people to get higher scores, or even allow people to get higher scores. But I think there is some room for personal rank for each trial quest that I think is a fantastic idea that I will get into as well. And then lastly, some just new trial ideas or trial quest ideas, and something for the devs as a feedback standpoint to think about is how the quests affect player interactions, and maybe what quests are fun and why they're fun and why they're not fun when it comes to the interactions that they create within the players on the map. So that is the overall what I'm going to cover. So let's just get into the very first thing, and that is, for me, the data, the information I'm getting when I'm doing the trials, because that's kind of the base for me. One of the biggest things right now with the trials that I have a hard time with is the in-raid information. When I really need, and this is even for the quests, or if I'm tracking a specific item that I want to grab in game for my benches or whatever for my project, I need a way to pin the information to the sidebar. Now you can ping it and it stays there for 4 seconds, maybe. I don't know if you can ping actual quest, trial quest, but I need these to stay on screen. And that's because right now I can see maybe what score is being added, but I can't see my whole score. I can see when I make a personal best, but even if I have 3 stars, like I find myself having to go back into the menu every time I do damage to something because I can't see my goal, right? I can't see the end goal that I'm trying to reach. So I really need in raid at the very least to be able to see my current tracked score for these trials. And if I have to individually pin that for each one, I will. I think that's fair to ask because maybe you're only going for one and you don't want to see all 5. The other thing that I would like is a little bit more information of how I rank per trial quest. So what I mean by this, I can go into the leaderboard and see my overall position. But it would be really cool if, say, for Trap Daddy on my leaderboard, I can hover over his name or over his score, and I can see what his score is in each category or each trial quest. Or I can go back here and click on this, and I'll be like, all right, here's the top score, here's your rank, and here's your personal best. That would be just, I guess, quality of life nice, because if I'm going through these and I'm really struggling in maybe a few of these categories, I can be like, all right, well, the Queen and Matriarch is where everybody's outdoing me. Like I rank really low in this one. I need to focus. All right, this is one where I can focus on and do a lot more damage than I have done because other people, that's where they've done it in. And I think that is one way to, I think, help the players, especially the new ones, kind of get that visual thing of like, all right, this is where your big score category is for this week. That would be really nice to see. Now, as far as scoring in general, there's a couple things that I think require some extra explanation, some specific trials that require some explanation. Things like the first wave Huss, things like the underground bunker event. These are things where, like for the first wave Huss, I didn't realize some of the, I thought it was just the big queen Huss that counted. And then I thought, well, maybe it includes the bigger ones. And then I found out it includes the little wasps that are down. And I still don't remember if the arc couriers or the probes count. I don't think they do, but honestly, I'd have to go back and actually test it again to know. And I know you don't want to necessarily give away everything to a player, but at the same time, like, I think you do need to include what all is involved in the scoring when it comes to a trial specifically. Maybe not a general quest, but a trial. Because I'm already sinking a lot of time into it. I just want a better understanding right off the bat what I need to do. Something like the underground bunker, for instance. 99% of the people that I load in with have no clue how it works. Again, I enjoyed the process of figuring out what the hidden bunker was. But how does the scoring work, right? We were all running around with our heads cut off, downloading data. Hardly, only a handful of us were actually receiving the data. And even then, I didn't realize that I had to download and receive data at the same point to get to score. I thought maybe I could receive data at different points, maybe. And I honestly, if that's the case, I still don't know how it fully works. But I at least learned that I need to stand at one place, download and receive the data at one place before I even move on to the next one. And I really had to explain that to the other players of like, this is the only for sure way I know that you can score points this way. And I think that probably caused some frustration as well, along with the fact that it was a timed event that you had to be on at a certain time of day, or maybe you didn't always catch it. The lack of understanding of what the trial was, I think, added to the frustration. On top of, having one of the satellites on top of the tower that if you loaded in and nobody had a tower key or nobody had a zip line to get to the top of the tower, we couldn't do it. And I remember, especially later on, I brought in a zip line, and I was the only one who did. Or I was the only one who knew how to place the zip line to even get to the location to do it, on multiple matches. So I think that's, it can be fun to have some complicated quests like that. I just don't know if they are good in the trials, right? Another aspect of something like the hidden bunker or the loot, the extra loot at the top of spaceport, which is just an event, I guess. But when you have situations where players have a tendency to want to work together, like the hidden bunker event, it's much easier if you don't kill each other and you help each other go and get the satellites because they're so spaced out. In that situation, it takes away the PvP dynamic, which is built into this game, right? No one's shooting each other. Everyone's trying to understand what the event even is, even throughout the event, because it is limited. It's hard to get into sometimes. And so that PvP dynamic is taken away. And then also, there really isn't any extra arc around the bunker. There's usually a bastion or bombardier or something, but that's usually near only one entrance. There's no real danger there. So you've removed all the danger. You've removed all the PvP, which makes the hidden bunker event kind of not fun. You go there. You go there because you have to. There's so many people. You don't get any of the loot typically, and I think when you look at the creation of trials and you want to try something unique like that, you need to think about the player interactions and what you're taking away. Or in this case, you need to add more danger to something like the hidden bunker because it's not dynamic enough an event to be interesting. All right, so in kind of the explanation of the different trials and stuff, one thing I think could be fun to add is a little bit more variety to the trials themselves or some specific requirements. If we go to something like the creds that we earn, right? The feats, we need medium ammo to be dealt to raiders. Now, I don't think you want to bring PvP into the trials. I think it's a good move not to do that. But maybe you need medium ammo or light ammo damage to the wasps or to the hornets. It's going to force you to use a different gun. The light ammo isn't as great about taking out hornets, so it's going to provide a challenge. And right now, these things can be fun to do, but they're generic and they don't always. The challenge is really surviving the PvP aspect when it comes to some of these. Otherwise, it's just taking in enough gear and having enough time to do it. So I think creating additional trial quests or requirements that have more challenge, that require you to use something different than what you're typically using. You can't just come in with a free loadout if you need to do medium ammo damage to a wasp. You're probably going to have to load in with an arpeggio at least or something else, or at least go find one, right? I think another fun thing would be to force people to try and use more utility, whether it be zip lines or even just grenades. Like you have to do so much damage with different types of grenades. Again, forcing people to change their play style, to do something different. I think would be good. All right, so let's get into the ranks in general. I know I mentioned some of the names, some of the rewards I don't think are good enough. And then what I mean by personal rank when it comes to the rewards. Let's start off with just the names. I think these names could be more unique. You have a great world here, and we just kind of have straightforward names that are in most competitive, games or whatnot. So rookie, tryhard. I think you could use something like Scrap Runner, Topside Renegade, the Rust Belt Warrior. I think thematically having these names for each level would be good. It adds some interest to the game. To me, it would make me feel mentally like I'm gaining something. I don't really feel off the cuff like I'm gaining something from try hard 1, 2, and 3 because it's still try hard. I feel like I'm still in that section. I would feel like I'm gaining something if each level was a different name. Um, I don't feel like that's I don't feel like that's too much because you have so many cool names you could go with. Um, the other thing I will say is the rewards are not good enough, especially as you level up. Um, let's look at let's go clear to the top. Cantina Legend. You get a color variant, right? The Scarlet Black. I really think if you're gonna put in this much time, this much of a grind, it needs its own thing. Also, if we look at Daredevil 1 through Hot Shot, there is no difference. So if I know I'm not going to get to Cantina Legend, just me knowing me as a player, I don't have that much time to put into it. There's no reason for me to go past Daredevil 1. There's no reason because it's all the same. So you really need to have something different for each level. And I will say this: don't feel like someone's gonna feel left out because they didn't get the Daredevil 3, so you have to give them the same thing at Daredevil 1. Again, for me personally, these need to feel different. I need to be rewarded for my hardcore grind because that's what these are. These are not for casual players. We'll talk about something else that can be for casuals, but this portion is not for casual players. This portion is for people who put in their stash value. They risk a lot to get here, and so that's what they need is some reward. For me personally, emotes are fun, but they don't do it for this. They're good for quest unlocks or something, but I don't think they're good for this. Face styles, a lot of them get covered up just from the outfits we wear. You don't even unlock a backpack from this. You an attachment and charm. I do appreciate the color variation, but you don't even gain a unique backpack from this. And even for myself personally, I had a hard time even going for wildcard. It just didn't feel like I was actually going for Daredevil, and frankly, I just ran out of time. I think last week the trials were really hard for me to do on the time I had, which is fine. I don't expect to always be able to do this. I don't think that's fair to cave to everybody in their time. You want a challenge, but even the wild card, like I had no interest in wild card even. The only one from rookie all the way up to here, my only interest was getting a new outfit at Daredevil, and the rest of the ranks really didn't matter much to me, based off of the rewards. So I really think this needs to be looked at. Now, what do I mean by personal rank? Because there's been some talk about, again, just give me a score to put on this level and let me beat that score. And I don't think that's, you want something competitive, and I think that takes away the competitive aspect of the leaderboard. What I think you could do, though, that would be fun, is to have a personal rank for each trial quest. So maybe the Damage Wasp showed up like 2 weeks ago, and now it's back. I'll have a personal best or personal rank on this specific trial. And that maybe has rewards, could make them similar to this, right? Or, I would suggest color variation or something to an outfit. But I think that would be a way to where people feel like they could still work towards some of this. As a casual player, I can get 3 stars and get a reward. That feels pretty nice. It does. But I think a lot of people are really getting burnt out on trying to fight the leaderboard because, you're fighting your solos against teams, and it is such a grind to rank up like this. And for most players, I think it's going to take the fun out of it because of the randomness of who you're going against for that week. The randomness of the weekly trials. maybe you don't get the bunker event showing up for you when you're online. There's a lot out of your hands. So I think having something added that gives you a personal goal to beat, I think that would be more fun for players on at least the casual side that don't want to full on hardcore go competitive for the ranks. I think that would appease a lot of that player group. Now, the only thing else I could really say in general about this is going back to the tracking. I think solos and teams really need to be separated. I think as an idea, you could track solos and teams together in one category, because if maybe you're playing with your friends sometimes, but not all the time, and then you could have just a separate solo rank. So maybe, and actually, I think that could be interesting because maybe your, wild card or Daredevil 2 rank in teams, and your solo rank is in wild card. Obviously, I think that could upset some people more than they think because, well, you might be going as a team, you might be going up against more teams who are probably getting higher scores. So for the newer teams, it might actually make it a bit harder to rank up as fast, right? Because the leaderboards you get put onto aren't going to have solo players mixed in. But I think also that I think that could be a way to kind of even the playing field, right? Because if you play with your friends and you score a lot of points, but maybe there's one category where you're not doing well on, you can go back in as a solo player and kind of bump up your score. And it still counts in that team scoreboard. But when it comes to, the solo tracking, your team scores don't affect your solo tracking. And I know that can make some people upset too, because, well, if you're playing a lot only with your friends, you're not playing solo then. But you got to draw that line somewhere. I think it's more unfair to have solos and teams mixed together. And I think one person even suggested when you load into a match, you can choose whether you're tracking something solo or team. But honestly, if you're playing with your friends, they're going to be taking points away from you if you're saying you're tracking solo, right? Because you can't count their score that they're getting as well. So I think overall, you just need to separate the two of when you're loading in with duos or by yourself or trios or whatever you want to do. And I think that will solve that problem. So overall, again, let me know what you guys think. Am I on the right track with some things? Am I off track? We're all here just to make the game fun. I like the trials. I like getting 3 stars. I like having something else to work for. For me personally, I think having some more personal goals, for each trial quest would be more fun for me than to try and sweat the ranks competitively each week. But also, I did to some extent enjoy the sweat aspect too at times, but I need bigger rewards. I got to the point to where the rewards they didn't match the effort that I had in it. And so I backed off of it. I might try again for Daredevil 1. But because it's easier to hold your rank than it is to rank up, right? So I might stick around wildcard 2 or 3 and for as long as I can, and then just try and push to Daredevil 1 the last week or something. But I don't see myself going back, going past that unless they change something. Anyways, thanks for sticking around. As always, keep it casual, keep it chill. This game is a great game. Give sincere feedback. Don't just, throw out all your complaints. Give some suggestions, and we'll see where the devs take it. I think it's a great game, and I'm looking forward to it. So we'll see you guys on the next one.